Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Schulke, a recruiter at Katapult Network, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to talk about your strengths in an interview. The most important piece about talking about your strengths is knowing what they are. So we definitely want to spend some time thinking about our strengths and thinking what we bring to the table. It's also important to ride a nice balance between being confident in our skills, but not coming across arrogant or cocky. There's a couple ways to really think about this, and I think it always comes down to structure and phrasing. For example, if you think one of my big strengths is I have really high attention to detail. That's great. One way you might want to say that is I think a strength that I have is that I have really high attention to detail. You don't necessarily want to say, I think I have the highest attention to detail out of all of my coworkers. Might come across a certain kind of way that interviewers may not like. You could also say something that is maybe a little bit less direct, which is, I've been told in the past that I have really high attention to detail, and I think that that's one of my strengths. So thinking about strengths really comes down to knowing what they are and really being able to structure them and phrase them properly, and then also coming up with ways to prove that you've gained those strengths.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Towers and I'm an account manager here at Katapult Network. I have an interview coming up, so today I'm going to share with you how to prepare and determine my strengths for that interview. I have a pen and some paper to make sure I write everything down. One of the best ways to determine your strengths is by self-reflection. Self-reflection is thinking about the success you've had in the past or characteristics and skills that have come from those successes. Thinking about a personal experience, I used to work for Foot Locker for many years. And while working there, I was in charge of managing the inventory. What I did was created a double checking count system that resulted in a 10% increase in accuracy from the year before. I was really proud of it, and I think it showed my attention to detail and my strong entrepreneurial spirit. So I'm gonna write both of those down. Another way to determine your strengths is by asking a friend or someone you trust. Typically, they're able to see your strengths much more clearly than you can, so don't be afraid to ask them. I recently reached out to one of my old friends to ask what some of my strengths were, and he mentioned that I have the great ability to persuade others around me to see my point of view. Thinking back to when I used to work for Foot Locker, I was able to persuade customers to not only buy the more expensive higher-end model, but keep coming back as opposed to buying the cheaper lower-end model. So I think persuasion is definitely one of my strengths, and I'm gonna write that down. If you're still struggling to determine some of your strengths, you can always take a StrengthsFinder test. They're online and they're there to help you. I've taken a StrengthsFinder test in the past, and one of my top strengths was a developer. That means I'm really good at recognizing and developing the potential of those around me. When I used to be a manager at Foot Locker, I had an employee that my other managers wanted to get rid of right away. Instead of doing that, I saw the potential in them and worked with them a little bit harder than most to make sure they were successful. In the end, they were a great employee. They became one of our top sales rep and really enjoyed their job. So I think I'm going to put developer as one of my other strengths.
Something that you also really want to keep in mind when talking about strengths is really thinking about how they align with the job you're applying for. A way to do that is really take some time, break apart that job description, see where those strengths are that they're looking for, what they're looking for in a candidate, and seeing how your strengths align with that. You can write them down, see how they connect, see which ones feel right for you. And if you feel that you found some of those strengths, make sure to bring them up in the interview. Make sure the ones that you're talking about are aligning with the job that you're looking for.
To prepare for my interview, I went online and read the job description for the business development representative role that I'm applying to. They want somebody who is persuasive, resilient, and an extrovert. Since I already identified being persuasive as one of my skills, I'm going to use that as my top strength in my interview answer. Now that I got my notes, I'm going to get changed and be ready to rock and roll for this interview. Let's do this.
In an interview, you can list your strengths, but it's not going to mean much if you can't prove to the interviewer how you've gained that skill. First off, you want to use your resume as a tool to prove it. Take one of those bullet points from that job description and explain how you gained that skill in that role. You can also tell that interviewer how you plan on using that strength within the role that you're applying for. Make those connections from that job description and really explain how that company can benefit from that. I'm about to ask Kevin that "what are your strengths" question. So let's see what he has to say. All right, Kevin, and what do you think is your greatest strength?
I would say one of my greatest strengths is my ability to be persuasive. And I think I developed that skill as I worked my way up at Foot Locker. An example of this persuasion would be when a recent shoe came out that wasn't selling very well, and customers were actually buying the cheaper model that looked pretty similar but wasn't the same. So, my job was to find a way to persuade customers to buy this newer model to make sure that we were able to sell it out in the time allotted. So, I talked about the exclusive features that appeal to the customer, as well as that this was a rare shoe that wasn't going to be around for very long and that they had to have it today. That being said, we were able to sell out of the shoe in less than a week and actually had some of the top sales in the Midwest. So that was very exciting. I love the challenge of just overcoming a client's hesitations and really proving to them why this product is a great fit for them. I'm excited then to use that skill to open up opportunities for recent college graduates and by showing companies that their transferable skills make them a great fit for entry level roles.
Kevin, that was a great way to answer this question. Not only did he align his strengths with the job description and what we were looking for in a candidate, he also made sure that he proved how he gained that skill and also touched on how he could potentially use that skill for this potential employer. That's awesome. Great job, Kevin. Something that I frequently get asked in interviews is how specific or general do you want us to be with our skills? This is sometimes a tough question to answer, and a lot of people have different opinions. I think it really comes down to checking out that job description and seeing what aligns with that strength, and really being able to be confident in your answer and proving how you've gained it. But one thing I would mention is sometimes it can be a stronger choice to think kind of below that umbrella. What I mean by that is, let's say you have really great communication skills. That's a pretty general and broad answer. If you can prove how you gain that, that's great. But if you can take it one step further and maybe come up with a skill that is underneath that umbrella of communication, that might be the stronger choice. So instead of just saying, I have great communication skills, you could say, I think I have really great listening and interpretation skills. That might be the stronger choice than just going with that communication route. I really hope that Kevin and I have got you to start thinking about your strengths. What do you have that you can really bring to the table in your next interview? And feel free to like and subscribe and comment below if you do have any questions on interviewing and you want us to tackle those in our next videos going forward, and we would love to do that. You can also follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and feel free to check out our website. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next videos. We're happy to have you here and listening.